content creator, he is a writer, a producer, a director, and founder of Kenya's most successful television. Due to his entrepreneurial spirit, he has prominently featured on several illustrious or superfluous platforms such as, number 1, Forbes' most promising entrepreneurs under the age of 30 back in 2016. Number 2, Forbes Africa top 30 under the age of 30 in 2017. Number 3, he has been featured in the Hey guys, can you hear me? Hello, Maniskia?
Yes, we can hear you, Gola. Continue.
All right, there's some slight error issues with my connection. Okay, so should I start all over again? Okay, I was giving the profile of our speaker today. I was saying he has been featured in some of the most illustrious platforms in the country. Number 1, Forbes' most promising Kenyans under the age of 30 in 2016. Number 2, Forbes Africa top 30 under 30 in 2017. Number 3, Business Daily. He has been featured in that magazine. Under 40, he has been featured top 40 under the age of 40 in the men's category in 2014. And he has gone ahead to win one of the most prestigious and coveted awards, the Kalasha Best Editor in 2014. Well, at that young age, you can just imagine. But the most surprising and astonishing fact about his profile is that he was the youngest producer with a show on national television at the age of 22. Age of 22. The question is, at 22, where were you at 22? Or where do you aspire to be at the age of 22? To some of us, 22, bado tunavanga, bado tunawatesa mtaani tu, tukivalia hizo ma slides zetu na socks, tukiwa kunywa kwa kunywa. But imagine at the same time, there's a guy somewhere who is realizing his dreams and he's already living his best life at that age. Well, he's a man with so many questions to ask, you know? So they normally say that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Now I would like to direct this question to Mr. Eugene. How did it all begin? How did you find the missing link? And how did you manage to live doing what you love and actually succeeding in it to this level?
Thank you, Geoffrey, and hi, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question, Geoffrey, I started very early. I think the journey for entering entrepreneurship for me began as soon as I finished high school. As soon as this was 2008. And then a few months in, I went and got my first job. And it was the only job I could get at the time, which was as a soundman on a film set. And so after that, I went ahead and set up my first company to teach film amongst primary school kids. And that went on well as well. So I saved some of that money and I set up a TV production company, which is why then in 2013, I got my first TV show, Young Rich. Geoffrey. Geoffrey, can you hear me?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, all right. So that was a question. All right. So here we head on to the next question. As the main topic today, we like first of all to expound on this topic, which is the youth employment amidst the coronavirus. As you know, some of the youth were working in companies that got shut down, and they were really affected by this pandemic. And in line with that, many were lost their jobs. And just to highlight some of and bring in some light, which opportunities can the youth take at the moment that can really help them solve their financial crisis at the moment? As you know, some of the youth are still most of the youth here in this platform, they're still in colleges and universities, and they used to work part-time jobs in the restaurants and some of these middle companies, and which got shut down. And right now they're all stranded, trying here and there, struggling here and there. Can you just kindly highlight what are some of the opportunities that they can take and to carry forward in a much more sustaining way?
Geoffrey, I think talking about the pandemic, it's easy to blame lack of work or things like this on the pandemic, but I think the harsh reality, especially when you're at the age that you guys are at, is you just need to be proactive. You just need to constantly look at where the world is heading. I mean, now with remote working, if you're talented at whatever you do, maybe it's graphic design, maybe it's you're an artist, there's no better time than now to put your work out. So I don't think there are any special opportunities that I can point out, particularly that are targeted towards COVID. But the thing that I can say to all of you is the best thing to do is to be proactive. You know, constantly be looking out for ideas, constantly go out and do your bit. The world has not stopped at all. We're just going out with masks now. So the thing is just be proactive.
All right. All right. So proactiveness is the ideal solution to our problems right now, right? Hello, kindly mute yourself if you are not speaking. All right. So right now, hello.
Yes.
I hope nasikika. So right now, in our social media right now, things have been going round, and the youth are under a lot of pressure. There is this phrase that we state these days. It's called kuomoka. Sijui kama umeisikia mahali. Kuomoka.
Yeah.
And you know, once the youth of this generation of ours, they state that quote, they it normally brings a lot of pressure. Like, guys really want to get rich and at a very fast rate, not putting in mind what is required to be in a certain position to omoka. You know, like so many guys want to omoka and they really don't know what is required of them to be there. And at this note, I want you just to enlighten guys in the group today. Tell them, what do we require? How much time do we need? How much more do we need to wait to omoka? Is it a matter of circumstance, or does it really mean that we need to work for it, or something just to, you know?
Yeah.
Kitu kama hiyo.
The thing is, there's no such thing as waiting for success. You have to go and find it. Like for instance, for me, before you mentioned that in my introduction there that I had my first TV show when I was 22. But at the time, I had been working for close to 5 years in the same industry because I'd been doing odd jobs. I was an extra on the sets. I was a boom swinger. So you can see already the time it takes to even just get a fast break. I had already been working for 5 years before I got my first break. And since then, I think now I've been in the industry for about 11 years and I'm not 30 yet. So you can just see the amount of time it takes. The thing also about using the word kuomoka is, I think to also understand that success is not just about money. Often, almost everybody I know who's successful started off by doing really good work and the money followed. Like you have to become really good at what you do first before you get paid huge amounts for it. And often this happens with experience. So the thing is to do is to start now where you are and be a bit patient to some degree. Some people get lucky where they break out in the first year, but that's very unlikely. Like in a lot of times, it just takes time and pressure. It's how rocks are formed, same to success.
All right, that is well explained. I hope for Ms. Kia. And there's another question posted in the chat box about network marketing. As you see these days, there's so many network marketing companies and pyramid schemes coming up, and they really capture a lot of attention, and they really lure many, and many don't get what they anticipate in those pyramid schemes. You know, so many of them. So they're asking, is network marketing among the best business ventures in the era today?
Geoffrey, I can say this very explicitly. Network marketing is a scam. This is not anything you want to get into. Anything that requires you to recruit new people is it's called, and it comes under different names: multi-level marketing, network marketing. This is not a business. It's basically, it makes money from recruiting new people. So stay away from those things. There's no shortcuts to work. Like create a product, work only for companies that make money from selling products, not from recruiting new entries. So no, multi-level marketing is a scam. Network marketing is a scam. Don't join it.
Okay, when you say network marketing is a scam, some don't really they don't really dwell on getting new people. Some they sell products. I don't know. You sell this product, then don't you'll be getting something like that. Like you get customers. Is it really general that they're all scammy? They're all scams.
Again, you can go down the direction.
Speaking on the point of view.
Yeah, no. That level, that form of business structure does not favor you at the bottom. All of those things, even the product selling and whatnot, it focuses. The reason they're called pyramid schemes is because they're fixed like this. There's the masses here, and there's a few people at the top who benefit from it. Again, there's no shortcut to some of these things, and network marketing is not it. If you do your research very well, you need to go far. Just Google whatever marketing network marketing group you're looking at, and I can guarantee you on page 1 or page 2 of Google, you will find all these negative reviews from multiple users. I would not advise it.
All right. Okay. What else? So guys, as we continue with the session, kindly post your questions in the chat box, so that what you have in mind is expounded on. All right. Someone is asking in the chat box that most of us do have a genuine business idea. The challenge comes in on the capital. How can we handle such?
My advice on that front will be, I'll answer it in 2 ways. So the first one is, it's always best to start with what you have where you are. Because often you can wish for 1 million shillings to start a business, but if you generally don't have 1 million shillings, wishing for it is not going to come, and then waiting for it either doesn't help because then time passes. So for instance, I'll tell you, like the first business that I got into as a business was teaching primary school kids basic film. And it was easy to get into because all I needed to do was print some documents, go to a cyber cafe and Google the information. So overall it started off with like 2,000 shillings. Of course, the returns aren't that big, but you can see sort of like starting with what you have. Another thing that I would advise in terms of capital, for instance, when I started my TV production company, I didn't have enough money to hire staff. But what I lacked for in money, I gave in time. So for instance, I'd spend longer doing the work of 2-3 people, being the camera guy, being the editor. So of course, this meant much, much less sleep and all. But then because I had no capital to pay for some of those things, I ended up doing some of the work myself. So the advice here is try and see what you can do now with what you have. And now this is where creativity and proactivity comes in. And then secondly, try and put in as much hours into whatever service you're trying to get into if you're lacking in money. Because the thing is, Kenya does not yet have a system that can allow you to access capital like in the Western world. But unfortunately, we find ourselves here. So the thing is, you just have to, again, do those two things, put in the time, get a job if you can at the beginning, and as well as put in the time and also use what you have to start where you are.
All right. And just another bit of concern. Your career path, I tend to think that it is kind of very different from what we normally do here in Kenya. Like you chose to do film and those media, So come to think of it, here in Kenya, when someone finishes high school, they think of these careers that our parents normally tell us: being a doctor, being a teacher, being an engineer, being what,
Yeah.
So you choose a different career path, and here in Kenya, the government has not really put much effort towards what you studied, that is filming and animation and stuff like that. What advice can you give anyone else who might want to follow the same path as you?
My advice would be go for it. The thing now about the world we live in, there's new industries being created every day. For instance, look at social media influencers, for instance. That's an industry that didn't exist when I started working. You have access to the internet now, which means, you've got guys selling stuff online. Of course, there's always going to be need for the traditional careers, so to speak. Of course, the world still needs doctors, the world still needs lawyers. But right now, you really don't have an excuse to not follow your dream because you have a lot of information on your fingertips because of your mobile phone again and the internet. I mean, look at us. We're currently at a conference via computer, and all of you are probably tuning in from your phones. So there's never been a better time to sort of wander away from the traditional careers, so to speak.
All right. As we prepare for the next question, there's one of us who would like to ask a very, very question that hawezi kutype. So let me just unmute her. Aulize. Let me just unmute you, Michelle. Yes, Michelle.
I have a question regarding networking.
Yes.
Can Eugene expound more on networking? Has networking helped him in his career over the? Because he has said that by the time he was 22, he had previously started working like 5 years before. Like, does networking have anything to do with his current success? Thank you.
Michelle, yes, networking has a lot to do with my current success. There are very many ways to sort of grow your network. And at the beginning, especially when you're at your age, perhaps the best way to do that is to go out and work. So for instance, as I mentioned, for me, from the age of about 17, because I finished high school when I was 17, and then I turned 18 a few months after. So before I had my idea, I was already on a film set doing odd jobs here and there. And what this does, when you volunteer in places, when you take internships, what this does is it allows you to meet people. Because if you're going to an office or a film set, you automatically meet the people who work in those places. They start to know your name, you start to know theirs. It's even better if you can take multiple jobs over short periods of time. I know a few people who take multiple internships before they eventually get into a job. But then also for me, even after I had already gotten my first, I had sort of almost like broken out, I still very actively network. I go to well, at least when the world was open, I'd attend quite a few events every week. At least
So
3 times a week, I try to have coffee with a friend and catch up with people. So yes, networking is very important because at the end,
I do. I do.
yeah, at the end of the day, it's not the people you know, it's the people who know you. So that networking is very important.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm seeing someone has asked what
All
the
right,
name
thank you, Michelle.
of the company is. We used to be called Young Rich Television Limited. Now we operate under Documentary and Reality TV.
All right. Okay, just Eugene, can you kindly just give a brief story of how you started all these companies and the challenges you faced? Of course, you faced some challenges as throughout your journey. You know, you started from small, then growing. Can you just give us a short summary of whatever you've gone through, just as a means of inspiration?
So I began by telling you guys where I started off when I was younger, but I think I finished the story when I got my first TV show in 2013. So I got my first TV show was called Young Rich, and it broadcast on K24 at the time. And what the show used to do was it used to profile young Kenyan millionaires. And after that, the money I made from that TV show, I reinvested it in a bunch of other TV shows. So we had Get in the Kitchen that used to be on K24 as well, and was also on KTN. After that, we had Story Yangu and Our Perfect Wedding, which are both on Maisha Magic East. Then I had Bing Bahati on NTV, Foods of Kenya on KTN, and the latest baby is Soul Family, the new reality show on Sauti Soul. So that's also being produced by my production company. So yeah, that's pretty much been my journey. The challenges I face, to answer the second part of your question, are, challenges are usually very generic when you're in business. It's matters of cash flow. It's issues of, trying to break into new markets. There's not a lot of government support in Kenya for businesses, so a lot of the stuff you have to do yourself, even though you're taxed. So I wouldn't say that I have particularly unique challenges myself, but that's been my journey, and those are some of the shows that I have.
Yeah, that's interesting, huh? Because actually getting money and investing it in another business, that's very, very encouraging for a young person. Because for some of us, ukipata pesa tu hivi, ukipata pesa tu hivi, you know where we go. So that one brings me to another question. Having gained all that much, can you kindly try and illustrate the balance between being a successful businessman and relationships? Because some of us get wasted in one part. You get money, get a girlfriend, and amaliza yote. That is what normally happens with our current generation. Can you, if you, okay, yeah, just kindly expound on that, relationships versus business.
Geoffrey, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that question for you, because I have not been able to juggle those two things very well. But I think as with everything, a lot of it boils down to what your priorities are really and what matters to you. Because I'm always of the thought that if something is important to you, you'll make time for it. So yeah, I guess that'll be my answer for that. I'm not married yet myself, so I wouldn't be able to advise you. Especially, I wouldn't be able to advise a church group on those matters.
All right. That's okay. It was just an issue because it's social things that affect the youth today. Yeah. So just going on another question. You're to Yachi hapo. Going on another question. Some of the youth today, they normally engage in the manual jobs, barua ya hapa na pale, and some of them they end up doing this for the larger part of their lives, and they tend not to grow in these manual jobs. So what advice could you give a person who normally goes to a kibarua day in, day out with no progress, no growth, is just, how can I put it, just stagnant in that particular position of kibaruas day in, day out?
Yeah.
Is it healthy for growth?
So the thing about getting ahead in life is you constantly have to improve yourself. So for instance, if you're, let's use the example of the Kibarua you spoke about, and you're a Ramjengo guy, and maybe your day-to-day is you carry stones. It's a good place to start, but the only way you progress forward is if you grow yourself as well mentally. So for instance, some of the best jobs in the world require mental power, not necessarily physical power, because as it's just a fact of life that watu wa mkono generally don't make that much money. So then the way that I find, or rather that I would advise, is even if you're starting out doing manual work, constantly grow, work to develop yourself mentally as well. And a good example is reading books. Another good example is maybe advancing your skills by doing a new course. So if you're doing manual jobs, the thing is you must always think of it as a stepping stone. So you must always think of it as just a platform to get you to the next level. And the example I'll give you is, for me when I started out, is I used to be a boob swinger. You know, on a film set, those guys who hold the long microphone. You know those guys?
Yeah.
So I used to be that guy, ni mtu wa mkono kabisa. But then I was constantly trying to learn from the guys on set. I was asking a lot of questions. I was trying to see what the guy who was above me, what they do and what it takes to get that job. So personal growth is really your own responsibility. And the thing is to always remember is what mkono overall at the end of the day, don't advance too far. Always use whatever work you have at the beginning to advance yourself further, and always consider it a stepping stone, not the end result. Does that answer your question?
That one definitely answers our questions. They're very cool. All right, now there's another gentleman here who is saying that he's working, but he has challenges in savings. How could you advise on how you can save your money doing your daily kibaruas?
The thing.
A question on savings, yeah.
Yeah, savings are usually when you want too little. I would say don't stress yourself too much about saving in itself. The thing to do is to try and how do I answer this properly? The thing to do is to try and increase your earning, because let's say you earn 15,000 shillings, for instance, and you have to pay rent and you have to eat. So the trick, if you're earning too little, the trick I would say is save just enough so that you never, so that you always have something in case of an emergency, but focus more on growing your earning power, not so much on increasing your savings. So focus more on growing your earning power, because only when you earn slightly above your living expenditure is when you can be able to save.
Okay, that one is answered. And again, another question that gets back to you, focusing on the challenges that you faced during your time. What can you do differently today? What can you do differently today in regard to those challenges?
What will I do differently today?
With the challenges you faced?
Geoffrey, just give me 1 second.
All right. Okay, guys, as we wait for him to come back, can we just post more questions on the chat box that we can maximize on our time here? Sawa.
All right, please ask that question
Yeah.
again.
Yes, someone was asking, during your journey, you had faced some challenges.
Yes.
And if you were to go back in time, what would you do differently with in regard to the challenges that you faced?
You know, they always say hindsight is it's easy to on hindsight to give.
Just mute these guys.
Yeah.
Can you
So
mute yourself if you're yeah.
so looking back, I wish I had. I honestly don't really have many regrets, but looking back, I wish I had been a bit more intentional, especially with learning quickly and acquiring knowledge. There are a few years at the beginning there where I was, and you know, this happens with youth as well, where I was very self-confident, but not based on actual knowledge. It was based on perceived knowledge. What I mean by that is, you know, you do one thing and you think of yourself as very clever. Where else now my approach is a bit different in the sense that I always assume I don't know anything, you know. So I constantly ask questions. Learning for me is a very active, intentional undertaking. And so I wish I had done this from the very onset, because that would mean I would have had maybe slightly 3 more years worth more of knowledge than I do now. But again, as I said, I don't regret anything, because I feel like learning curve for me has been quite good.
All right. That is answered. And another one here. Okay. Earlier on, I had mentioned that you are also a writer. So people are asking, you're a writer. Have you written any books? And if there is, how can we access those books?
I'm not. So the writing I do is not of books per se. I write quite a bit for TV, because you know it takes quite a you know, the scripts here and there. So I used to do quite a bit of writing for TV. But I also do write for the Saturday Nation. I contribute on matters film. I used to write quite often back in the day, but now it's maybe once every 2 months or so. So if you go on the Saturday on the Nation page, you can Google my name and you'll find my articles. They're mostly about film and TV, and every now and then I'll write about a topic that I find interesting. Like I once did a piece on Wala bin Wala, the author. I've interviewed a few guys I find interesting, but for the most part, it's usually film reviews and things like this. You can find them on the Nation page.
All right. So you do more of script writing, right?
A contribution to the newspaper. Script writing I used to.
Oh, okay. So another, we can take a few more questions. Okay, there's another one here. Or have you ever been broke? Like, have you ever found yourself in a situation whereby you're dead broke, and even in case you got yourself in such a situation, what did you do about it? Because you know.
Yeah, I've been broke. I didn't start out privileged. I had quite a tough upbringing as at the start of my life, and of course, as an adult, those beginning years when I was in university and such were also pretty broke. But the thing I did about it is I had support from my guardians, but other than that, I worked. I think since, as I mentioned to you, since from the first month I finished high school, I've been working since. So that'd be my answer. Like when I've been broke, I've worked.
Okay, that is addressed. And in your position as a very good role model to the young people right now, of course,
I don't know if I'm that. I don't know if I'm a good role model.
Those people whom you're looking. You know, role models don't know that some guys who normally look up to them, but chini ya maji wanakuanga. And also in your in your own perspective, there are also those guys whom you are looking up to, and those guys who normally inspire you a lot. So that one brings to this question: what is your what are your inspirations, and what might be your favorite book that you normally read, and yeah, what inspires you a lot?
So I've got a few business mentors who I call on and whose stories I really look up to. One of them is Dennis Makori, who's the CEO of OnePhone Media. I've got Dr. Sam Denya, who's the founder of Nairobi Women's Hospital. So there's quite a few guys that I look up to, and I'm able to sort of get their guidance from them. In terms of books, I don't know if there's a favorite book I have, but because I read quite a few of them. However, the one that I would recommend to all of you guys is a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book will ideally teach you about the basics of money. There's another one called The Richest Man in Babylon as well. These are very basic entry-level books if you want to understand how money works, if you want to understand about the principle of wealth creation and basically how to build yourself. So I would recommend those two books, The Richest Man in Babylon and Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
All right, thank you for those recommendations. And just one of the last questions that we have right now. Okay, you have a company, the Young Rich TV, and someone is asking, do you guys offer internships, and how can they get in touch with the company in case someone needs internship?
Yes, we do offer internship. Just go on our social media pages and follow us everywhere. Because usually every time we have an opening, we usually post it publicly on our social media pages, and then you can apply. Every time there's a posting, it usually has the application details. So if you just follow us on social media, you'll be able to tell when we have openings.
All right. Okay. So I think we're almost coming to an end of our session, and just a bit of curiosity.
Ogola.
Yes.
Okay, someone, Hemu had a question here. He wanted to know, he's saying he's sure that you have invested in businesses. What are some of the things you've looked at when you wanted to invest?
Okay, yes, it's true. I've invested in quite a few businesses. I have interest in hospitality with the Number 7 Club. I have a farm called Ballox, although both of them are no longer operational now because of COVID. What do I look at those? So usually in every business that I go into, I'll usually partner with someone who's quite, other than my primary business, I'll usually partner with someone who's quite knowledgeable on that business. Additionally, it also has to have a ready market for whatever product it is that it's producing. It has to be not too cash intensive in the way of capital, because my business is also still quite young, so it's not like I have unlimited money to spend on things. It has to tick a few boxes. There has to be a ready market for whatever product it's producing. It has to be something that I also find interesting. For instance, the club business, it's a business that I found interesting because I personally used to go to clubs quite a bit. Farming, because the idea of food, growing food, is very fascinating for me. So it's not that I don't have a really set criteria, but those are some of the things that I would ideally look at.
Yeah, another question. When you're in campus, I saw somewhere that you had a PlayStation. Okay, you had opened a PlayStation gig somewhere. So what are some of these opportunities that guys in campus can really take to sustain themselves financially as they still go through school?
Geoffrey, I think I'd answered this question before, and the answer again remains: just look around you, see what people need. For instance, the business that you mentioned, I set up that business around the time when the Mutuzo laws came by. So the school I was in, between classes, guys would go and drink. So when the Mutuzo laws came by, they could no longer do this. So I figured, what do college kids enjoy doing? Everybody likes to watch movies. So I used to sell those 50 bob movies. People like playing video games. So then I had a TV and some PlayStations that you could play and pay per minute. So there's no ideas that I can give you myself. The thing is to just look around your community, because remember we talked about starting with what you have where you are. look around your community and identify what the needs are, because you have to remember entrepreneurship is technically solving problems that people have. So just again, look at your environment with a very keen eye, be very proactive, and you will see opportunities everywhere.
Okay.
Okay, I'd love to ask, is there anybody else who has a question before we end this session? Or does Eugene have a parting shot for us? Anything that will be beneficial to all of us as youth, as young people? Any parting shot?
My parting shot is I'll just reiterate what I had said earlier: is start today, start where you are, start with what you have. And the thing is that I have to tell you, and this is a very somber note, we live in a very messed up country in the sense that our systems have failed us. So knowing this, please know that there's nobody coming to save you. You really have to go out yourself and start figuring out how to get yourself ahead. As I mentioned, start with whatever job you can get, but always remember it's a stepping stone to get further. Keep working on yourself, keep educating yourself, improve on your skill set. Yeah, and be proactive. Look at opportunities around you and do not be afraid to start. Start where you are with what you have.
Okay, thank you so much. There's one person who has a question. I think that's the last one. Mark, can you unmute yourself and ask the question, please? Mark? Higher. I think I can't. I don't think he's. Mark, tuulize swali yako.
He's saying he's unable to because of the host.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yes, I'm now online.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Eugene Wambua. Very fast. I'm asking that some platforms whereby upcoming entrepreneurs like me would wish maybe to go and pitch their ideas and even maybe get some investors, or even can get a grant in that case, since that if it is a small business that is growing, what we currently would wish to have is some grant to steer up and enable us grow. Thank you.
So I did not understand your question, Mark. What is the question?
My question is, would you please refer us to some maybe platforms, or even if you have some organizations or even groups whereby we as upcoming entrepreneurs, we can get assistance, financial assistance, that is. It's not more of a question.
Yeah, off the top of my mind, Mark, there's an organization called HEVA Fund. HEVA, that's HEVA. HEVA Fund is run by a gentleman called George Gashara. You can look them up. They do give financing but particularly for the creative industry. So maybe perhaps look those up. That's the only one I think I can think of right now at the top of my mind. They do give loans or grants for different creative work.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you all for those questions and for your active participation. Sijui kama tunafungia mtu yeyote. Anybody else before tufunge kabisa? We have 4 minutes before the closure. 4 minutes. Anybody else mwenye anaona amefungiwa? We can, yeah. Anybody? Sasa. So that one makes us come to a conclusion towards this session. I would like to give someone an opportunity to give us a vote of thanks for this session, and that is Nani. Okay, Michelle Weru, can you kindly give us a vote of thanks for this session before our guest leaves?
I'd love to say thank you to Eugene for this session. It was quite a privilege having you as one of our role models. Personally, I've been inspired by everything that you've told us, that umetupea a whole picture of what we need to know, especially now that you've said that there's no one who is coming to save us. You just have to find something for yourself. I think that was something most of us needed to hear. And thank you so much. We hope to have you for another session in the future, maybe. But thank you so much for this session.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure to be here.
Oh.
Right. Shall we call it a night?
Yes. Okay.
All
Good
right.
night. Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you, everyone.
Uh,